ultimately, we will have humanoids, but probably for more diverse tasks. If I know the task very well, so it's a very specific task with very specific requirements, and in that case, simply the ratio between the complexity and performance, humanoids are not going to beat Autopicker very soon.
Welcome to Beyond the Pick, where we explore the latest innovations in robotics and AI for supply chains. I'm Andre, Chief Growth Officer at Brightpick, and today we're doing something special. I'm thrilled to sit down with the founder and CEO of Brightpick, Jan Zizka. Jan has been at the forefront of robotics and AI for over a decade, starting from his time at MIT. In addition to having a deeply inquisitive mind and being a brilliant engineer, Jan is also an inspiring leader and a great visionary that I have the honor of calling my friend. Let's dive right in. Jan, you founded two successful robotics startups, raised over $60 million in capital from investors, and lead a team of more than 300 people. What's been the hardest part of your journey here?
Probably growing out of Slovakia, small country with, in principle, no startup VC history. In the beginning, it was not so simple to do fundraising. Even people had no idea about startups and similar topics. But today I feel that it's actually our strength. We have built, great team of people. Today, I would say our top people are better than people from Silicon Valley, especially in robotics and designing of robots and software. In general, this region is well known for high quality software development. I think that is, the key. Plus, in Slovakia, we manufacture most cars per capita in the world. The technical talent pool is pretty good. Universities adjusting the programs. So in general, I feel that it's our strength today, and also more and more investors started to look at the region. So plus, we of course are now global, so it's not the problem anymore. But yes, in the beginning, it was probably that growing out of Slovakia was the, let's say, difficult part. I think it is motivating the team to prove that we are good enough to do, like something that's really world's best. And yes, we did it a few times already.
So take me back to your early days. You founded Photoneo 2013. Tell us about your background. What led you to start the company?
So I was always trying to solve, mathematics, physics, robotics, vision, AI, always trying to know every aspect of all of these. And I think also what was super important that I was always in a group of very smart people. Having, smart people around always helps a lot. So, starting with Michael and somehow competing with him in different, math awards and different competitions, actually elementary school, really 10, 12 year old.
And Michael is the current head of AI.
Yes, exactly. And actually, he is the reason why I learned programming that time, because I on one meeting, I learned that he already knows. So I was like, okay, that is a challenge. So I learned programming over holidays on my own, just to prove that I'm, as good as Michael. And yes, then later on, of course, meeting Thomas and his first bachelor and then master thesis, I was, kind of leading as a PhD student. I think that was probably the really the key. I always tell that people sometimes tell that the 1 + 1 is 3, but in many cases, I feel that me and Thomas is 1 + 1 is 5 or something like that. So it really works like this. And that was really the moment where we invented this mosaic shutter and motion cam, in principle, the entire principle behind. Today we can tell that still, the best 3D camera on the planet, Photoneo is selling. And then over the years, we we're still digging a little deeper into the intelligence part, how to use that 3D information to do something useful with robotic arms, later with mobile robots, and ultimately creating spin-off of Brightpick from Photoneo. And yes, today we can tell that yes, another great year for us with a lot of awards, and probably we can tell that yes, we have a leading fulfillment solution on the market today.
Got it. So maybe before talking more about Brightpick, let's stay in those early days a little bit. So you were doing your PhD in machine vision at that time. You were doing some research at MIT. Tomáš was a physics master's student who you were guiding. Why go into machine vision? And specifically, why go into 3D? Because even machine vision is such a broad area.
So I think for Tomáš, it was really mathematics, physics in general. And I think Tomáš had the same mindset as me that if you want to operate with photons and achieve something great with them, because that's the tool what you can really use. And mainly we both actually started with computer graphics, which is kind of opposite direction from digital to the analog to see something interesting. But we found it maybe a little too simple at that time, and the opposite direction is the difficult one. How to analyze, how to understand the entire scene, the semantics around. So we really started in computer vision and then slightly moving into the intelligence and AI.
So you raised your first venture capital in 2015. I was actually talking to Jan Zizka, the partner at Credo Ventures, which led the round, who told me that by investing in Photoneo, he broke a golden rule in venture capital, which was not to invest in someone who cold emailed them. Tell me about that first fundraise and ultimately what you achieved with that money, which I understand is the CMOS image sensor.
Exactly. Yep. So, Slovakia, first of all, small country. I was maybe first or second student at MIT out of Slovakia. So coming back, first of all, I somehow realized that those people are not much smarter than us. That was somehow also encouraging us to do something bigger. And we knew that we need to invest into that image sensor. Otherwise, the approach wouldn't work. So again, not very common. Raising 2 million euros that time was probably the largest seed round in the region. And telling that we are going to manufacture our own CMOS image sensor. So again, MIT, my professor from MIT, and I would say pretty good prototype at that time already helped to convince multiple investors at the end. One of them also Credo Ventures and Jan Zizka. And honestly, I'm not sure if I really remember how we did it, but yes, probably it was not the most professional fundraising ever because it was very first company, very first fundraising. But I think at the end we did very well. It was ultimately 5 pretty good, the best investors in the region, and I think yes, that's my stair theory. So I think that was probably the first stair for Photoneo.
And the next one was actually developing the sensor, right? Which you did fully in-house, patented. It's pretty rare for someone to design their own image sensor, let alone with a budget of only 2 million.
And actually the sensor itself was less than 1 million. Of course, we had some help from the design house, but still I think we did a pretty impressive job. And also the time frame was meaningful. Also, the first tape out was working out of the box. So I think pretty good job. And in the beginning, a lot of talented people together working 16 hours per day, and that's it, as simple as that.
And what was people's reaction when you actually unveiled Motion Cam?
Those things you will remember forever. At the trade fair, standing in a small booth with a Motion Cam, people coming. I haven't seen what is it. You show it, and they are just blown away, completely just like, okay, wait here, I'm going to call all my colleagues, they have to see it. So in the beginning, it was just like people haven't seen it. And even today, still, it's simply the best point cloud ever produced by humanity, period. So from this viewpoint, people who understood that time the challenge, and that time it was simply 10x better than anything else on the market, and that just means that you are selling easier, you convince people, you are building the brand easier. So yeah, it was probably partially technological / product led sales, but still I feel that it was a great time. It was really kind of pushing everybody to continue and to push the boundaries further.
And now, as you said, Photoneo is one of the leading 3D vision providers globally, customers like General Motors, Amazon, and it's still growing. But let's fast forward a few years to 2020, 21. What led you to actually step away from Photoneo and launch Brightpick? Because, it's a very risky decision to make, given that Photoneo was growing. It still required a lot of work. Why take that risk?
So first of all, we had a great team, and there were people who can take over and continue with Photoneo. But the primary motivation really was that we have seen that having that combination of horizontal business on the Photoneo side and the vertical direct to customer business, where we kind of intentionally created the entire system and an entire product around. We want to deploy as many robots as we can, which is usually challenging in other environments, and identified that fulfillment is simply the best place to be, with e-commerce growing. In general, still a lot of fulfillment happening for retail distribution. So that was the main reason.
And a lot of people know Brightpick for its flagship robot, Brightpick Autopicker. For those who don't know, it's essentially the only mobile robot in the world that can robotically pick orders directly in the aisles. You can think of it as almost like a human with a cart walking around from one location to the next. Was that always the goal with Brightpick, or did it evolve organically?
So I think we always wanted to combine that feet, brain, and hand and intelligence somehow together. But in the beginning, it was it was not clear how we do it. And I would say that's one of the key things. Like, you have to be very smart around really steering that product, listening to customer, and potentially creating, kind of ultimate solution they really like. And again, I think that we did pretty good job as a first commercial available mobile robotic picker. I think it's a great achievement.
And what makes it, in your words, the perfect solution?
So that flexibility and similarity to human, actually, I think that really makes a difference. So it's a very tall human, 3-4 meters, but ultimately doing very similar job. And all the advancements in computer vision, mainly AI, and I would say to some extent also robotics. Robotics is not moving so quickly as people think. I mean, the hardware design and all these, but still mainly the price point is today good enough to construct such a robot for a meaningful price point.
And of course, it's not just about the cost of the robot, it's also about the performance.
Yep, that's a big topic, and usually people, I think, easily overlook how difficult it is to get the robot to achieve, for example, human level performance. The humans are extremely agile, extremely smart, extremely universal, and I would say that in automotive we have seen that robots can do welding better, picking better. There are a few tasks where the industrial robot is simply better, but that took 50-60 years, and I think again Autopicker is probably one of the few examples where robot with a similar approach is achieving similar level as human of performance.
Speaking of human performance, why go down the route of Autopicker instead of, for example, developing a humanoid?
So ultimately we will have humanoids, but probably for more diverse tasks. If I know the task very well, today the common approach we do is that it's bunch of shelving, 50 robots, And what they are going to do, they are going to do fulfillment all the year, 24/7 or maybe 16 hours per day. So it's a very specific task with very specific requirements. And in that case, simply the ratio between the complexity and performance, humanoids are not going to beat Autopicker very soon.
Whenever I present Autopicker to many people, there's two moments of revelation. The first one is when they realize that the robot itself can robotically pick an aisle, which obviously saves all of that travel distance from not having to go back and forth. But the second revelation is when people find out everything else the robot can do. Of course, robotic picking, but also goods to person picking, pallet picking, buffering orders, consolidating them, dispatching them, replenishment. And you mentioned holistics early on. It is one of the most holistic solutions out there. Did that evolve from your early work with customers? For example, Rohlik Group, which was an early partner of Brightpick. What led you to take this approach? And was it more opportunistic, or did you have a vision for it all along?
I think in many cases, people see the robot and they are talking about the robot, but ultimately it's all about the process and the performance. And I think we were, again, hopefully, smart enough to see that soon enough and really collect as much inputs as we can and somehow utilizing that power of mobile robotics to that extent that we can handle almost all processes today. At least today, we do not see much of the new processes that people want us to handle. And that is, I think, again, exceptional that we cover, yes, most of the fulfillment needs today, including replenishment, pallet picking, human picking, and different processes people usually do not see, like recall of orders, different things like split order tote, split storage tote, then, mixed totes where people can pick directly from the tote where items are not only one SKU, but multiple of them. So I think all of that took a few years to really understand the problem, solve it well, explain to customers, learn, and probably repeat few iterations to make it, kind of suitable for those processes.
One of the reasons why the product evolved the way it did is because early on we partnered with Rohlik Group, who is a leading online grocer, which drove a lot of the product direction of Autopicker towards things like consolidation, post-pick, order buffering, dispatch, and so forth. As you think about Brightpick in the future, which industry do you see as ultimately being the most important for us long term?
Yeah, that's a difficult question, but I still feel that we will see the highest growth in grocery, e-grocery specifically. And then there's a huge room in pharma and small electronics. On the other side, we always try to identify these best possible candidates where we and the customer sees the highest value, logically. On the other side, we see spare parts for bicycles. We see spare parts for gardening and similar things. So and those are successful projects. So I would say, as the technology is advancing, we will cover more and more, and ultimately, in, I would say, probably a few years, 3 to 5 years, it's a good chance that we will handle almost all the items people can handle.
What makes grocery special?
I would say the throughput, really. Throughput is extreme. When your family is buying 100 pieces per week, that really means that it's 100 pieces per human, per, like population of Europe or US. I don't know, what is it, 700 million people in Europe and 350 in the US or something like that. All of those people in one moment probably will buy something online. And even if 20% of people are buying online, it's infinite amount of picks that are needed.
Moving back to the different components of Autopicker, Something else that people find incredible is that we developed all of those elements, the hardware, the software, the AI, the mobile platform, fully in-house. Looking back at it, would you do that again?
Yes, for sure. I think it's part of the holistic approach. And plus the talent we have in Slovakia and in general, I think it's... I simply do not believe that someone else can do as good job as we can, knowing all the needs of the customers. I think that is really the key.
And is it worth the complexity versus, let's say, buying an off-the-shelf existing AMR platform?
I would say if you would do that, there's absolutely no chance you would achieve this performance we have today.
Why?
For example, fleet management, you would need to do that from ground up. You would need to have special communication between those robots. Simply random AMR is not good enough for this.
Obviously, AI plays a role in the solution as well.
Yeah, but that's not so much the AMR itself, but the rest, the picking and navigation, all of these. That's a huge topic, and we have a special team for that. Around 8-10 people, and that picking took us, I would say, probably more than 3 years. We already started on the Photoneo side, and even grocery with meaningful diversity. It's not crazy diverse, but there is meaningful diversity. Still requires very holistic design of the arm, gripper, AI, how the picking point is identified, how multiple of them are identified, what is the best candidate out of those. So there's a pretty complex process around it.
And outside of picking, does AI play any other roles in the solution?
I would say still more and more. We will see more and more. In general, there's multiple stages where we use some level of complexity and AI. For example, we by vision and AI we identify the boxes in the space, so it's also part of the navigation. But in general, for example, we start to explore also prediction of throughput using AI and similar topics connected more to WES and WMS side.
Something interesting you once told me is that AI today is not powerful enough to actually do all of the fleet management that the algorithms we developed do. Talk to me more about that.
So the fleet management is in principle NP problem. So very, very difficult problem to solve. And you potentially can do some AI, but so far people are not very successful solving these types of problems using AI, because ultimately, in principle, what it tells is that ideally you try all the possibilities, but though it's just a lot of them, you cannot do it, with all the computers on the planet. So AI can give you some heuristics, some guess, but it's very, I don't know how to call it exactly, but it's very sharp problem, very binary from some viewpoint. Like if you usually heuristics works well for problems that are kind of smooth, so the solution is either here or here, and it's kind of close to each other. The good solutions are close to each other. Here it's complete opposite. It's like one robot blocking another robot can cause such a big traffic jam that those solutions are very far apart and very difficult to find. And that's why AI is not very good at it.
So how do we solve that?
So we used classical algorithmic approach where we are somehow trying to, so out of all the possibilities, we are using some heuristics that helps us to select those which are leading to good outcome. And if you do it, in a few iterations, you can get pretty good results, and they are usually just below 10% worse than the best possible solution. So you calculate much quicker, but the penalty is very low from some people.
And of course, we're talking about live production environments where the latency has to be minimal.
yes, that's another big problem. That all the robots they have some local sensorics, so that means LiDAR. They see each other, but on higher level they need to communicate with each other and with the master system. And of course, that introduced quite a lot of latency, and it's a very specific problem to solve, because almost doesn't matter how good a plan you have. If the robots cannot follow it, it will break in a few seconds. And mainly when you have 50 robots, it is literally 1 second. If something is wrong in 1 second, you are losing the plan and you have to replan, and probably you are getting some suboptimal solutions.
So whenever you're dealing with hardware, especially large fleets of robots moving simultaneously, the resource intensity to roll out a solution and ensure that it is working reliably is exponentially higher than with pure software, for example. How hard was it to get Brightpick off the ground to make it a reliable solution and scalable?
I would say the answer is very simple. Probably 10 iterations of different hardware and revisions. Today, if you would see the very early version, it's kind of funny. The design is not very good. You see that a lot of ideas were created over those 10 iterations, and I'm a big fan of rapid prototyping and quick iterations. And I think that is really the key. And today we can tell that the reliability is exceptional. And also the approach we took, that all the robots are the same. There's no single point of failure. I think all of that is paying off now. It's difficult to achieve and difficult to design such a system, but it's paying off very well.
What's the biggest challenge that you're facing right now?
Lack of time, probably, and we need to scale manufacturing to some extent. So the space we have now is good for today, but probably not good for end of the year. So we will probably move manufacturing to new facility, and of course, as the company is scaling, the operation, with the US, the communication has to be good. So there's, I would say classical scale-up problems, but we are looking forward to that. That means everything is going well.
Great to hear. What's your end goal with Brightpick? Where do you see the company being in 5 to 10 years?
I was over one weekend thinking exactly about it. Like, what exactly? Where's that end? Is it really extension of that portfolio to different verticals, different form factors of robots, maybe humanoids? I feel that there's quite a lot of other problems we can solve. But in upcoming years, we want to focus on the fulfillment, e-commerce fulfillment, and stay there. But in the background, we already have few ideas how to extend the portfolio to new verticals. And I would say probably not directly some humanoids, but it's a good chance that we will do something I like to call super humanoid. So something that's actually better than humanoid. Because I do not feel that should be the goal. We can do better than human.
Great. Well, it certainly still feels like day zero at the company. So I'm excited to see where we go. Thanks a lot for your time, Jan.
Same here. Thank you very much.
Beyond the Pick is brought to you by Brightpick. We care deeply about improving supply chain resilience, and we hope these stories inspire you to view your supply chain as a source of strength, not risk. To learn more about how we improve supply chain resilience, visit brightpick.ai, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. See you next time.